Hi everyone. It's really hot in my country right now. The summer is really coming, so don't mind my nasal patch. This is actually, I have a severe pollen allergy during the summer, and I bought these patches that you can kind of stick onto your clothes, and they evaporate essential oils and they declog your nose, which is something I'm struggling with, and my voice is a little bit different because of the my allergy issue. Anyway, in the beginning, I want to say thank you to everyone who subscribed. So I have 50 subscribers now. We're a little bit bigger than a classroom, which is amazing. So I have two new students from Korea, two new students from China, and one student, she is originally from Cambodia. So I'm so happy that we're expanding and that we're becoming more and more international. That was my goal from the beginning. So for everyone who wants to learn English, these videos can be useful. And a lot of countries in Europe, how big this mask issue, we cannot get used to it, and there are a lot of conspiracy theories circling around this, that these masks contain some kind of chemicals or like I find it a little bit silly because um, being a teacher for the Asian market for quite some time, I know that before this whole pandemic situation, Asian people just love wearing masks in general for many different reasons. First of all, not to be recognized. Sometimes they wear masks because they have allergy, like I do. Then they just, if it's a flu season, they don't want to get the flu because they have something important, or they just don't want to get sick. Um, Women who don't want to wear makeup on a particular day, they put on masks. I wish people here would understand that wearing masks is not going to make you um, conform, and it's not going to shut your mouth, and you're not going to be somebody who cannot say your opinion because you are kind of covering your mouth. One who accepts this situation is just a mask. So yeah, thank you guys in Asia, everyone who's wearing a mask. You're being so responsible, and I wish we could be more responsible too. So I've been thinking, since I got an email from my students who live in foreign countries, and some of them lost their jobs and they have to go back to their home country. Some of them are in a very tough financial situation, so they cannot afford to pay online schools. I completely understand. For any of you who are thinking about just having like one class a week or one or a few classes a month, and you're not willing to pay like full fee of a online school, and you just want to focus on a specific thing, maybe you want to apply for a job or apply for a university, or you just want to get a promotion, or maybe do a presentation, or anything that you need English help with, I am available. So you can write me an email and we will work everything out, so you don't have to worry. I did a little bit of book translating, email writing, email correspondence, presentation editing, seminar writing, all of that. So if you have a specific thing that you need help with, or if you know somebody who needs help in that area, I'm here for you. So feel free to write me an email. I always leave my contact down below in the description box. And finally, we're here for the IELTS part 3. This is why I started this video in the first place. I think it's going to be, the intro is already 5 minutes long, so this is going to be longer than I expected. But anyway, so a lot of my students are actually taking IELTS right now, this summer or this fall. And we're practicing mostly speaking. As you know, for speaking lessons, practicing reading is not very effective. You can do that on your own. Of course, there are some tips and tricks for that section as well. Maybe I will do a video on that. But when it comes to speaking, on IELTS, of course, you have part 1, part 2, and part 3. Part 1 is the easiest part. As you know, basically those are questions related to your everyday life, related to your preferences, and it's just like a 2 or 3 sentences long answer, so it's not something that's too complicated. Part two is a little bit of like a story, so you have to describe something, as you know. And then usually part three is tied with part two. You get a question on part two, for example, describe your favorite person. Usually the part three is going to be related to friendship or family. Some questions about that, the position of family in the society, describe a typical family in your country. So usually part two and part three are related. So as soon as you get part two, you should kind of expand your thinking and look at this issue from a much broader perspective. So part three questions, I reviewed 2020, so new set of questions. They're really complex and they're really sometimes controversial. I got some feminist questions like, do you think men are better at decision making than women? Or do you think men and women should share the same amount of work at home? There are also questions like about advertising. Do you think that advertisements today are different than in the past? How do you think the consumers are affected by that? So all of those questions are demanding in a way that they require you to think broad and to think about your position, your perspective. So if it's difficult for you to do this in English, you can do this in Japanese or Korean or Chinese or your native language. What do I think about, the position of husband versus wife in my society? So do women work harder? Why? Should that be changed? Do men dominate in the family setting? Why should that be changed? So just try to dissect the situation in your country. Then there are questions related to the environment, ecology, sustainability. So again, first, begin with something that you know. So of course, if you don't read the news at all in your country, there is something that catches your ear here and there, and you hear something, you hear about an issue. Just any example, anything from your own experience is going to be useful in answering part three. So for example, there is if the question is like what is the biggest pollution problem in your country, then you can say I don't know, in my country we take care of the environment much more now than before. For example, you can say in my hometown there is a big power plant that produces a lot of gases that go into the air, and it really pollutes the area around my hometown. So far, people are not reacting to this issue, but I think personally that we should do more in order to help the situation and to make our city more eco-friendly. Then if the question is about recycling, then you can say my country is really good when it comes to recycling. We recycle every week. We have special bins that we separate our garbage into. But I think maybe there are countries where recycling is not as popular, or it's not available at all. I think in those countries there should be more education about ecology and why saving the planet is important. Also, there's some new questions about non-governmental organizations and volunteering. So think about the volunteering experience you had in your past. That for you? Why did you do it? Why do you think volunteering is important? Why do you think people should volunteer? Who are those groups that need help the most in your society? Are those the elderly or the homeless or disabled, or how can they be helped? So as you can see, like when you are preparing for part three, you have to be aware of majority of problems that are in the world today, and the majority of topics that are in the news today. Family, studying, education reform, how is education being changed, Then, of course, global health, health policies that need aid. How can they be helped? How can we stop global hunger? Of course, you're not a politician. You're not a somebody who's an expert in this issue. Some of you guys are studying maybe humanities and social sciences, so you know more about this than others. But basically, nobody's going to ask you to solve an issue. You're not going to be asked to give an answer how to do something, but you should just show that you're willing to think about this and that you're willing to talk about this topic and that you understand. You have to think about answering 10 sentences is optimal. So from 7 to 10 sentences. So your answer should have an introduction, an explanation, and a conclusion. Of course, be ready to be interrupted. The teachers sometimes will ask you additional questions if they think your story is interesting. They may want to know more. But all in all, you should be ready to answer, to talk for minimum 10 sentences. And I had a student recently. She's so great. Her name is Sai. So hi, if you're listening to this video. And she's a high school student, super smart, knows English so well. And she said, and I said to her, oh my gosh, you're very smart. Your answers are amazing. And she was practicing for IELTS. And she said, yeah, I like to pretend to be smart. And I was like, wow, you're doing a great job. So that got me thinking, really, if you are not completely, if you get a question that you're not familiar with, for example, you are a designer and you don't know anything about healthcare, then you have to be at least convincing. Healthcare insurance. I'm sure that you are familiar at least what kind of healthcare insurance you have. So start from yourself. Okay, so for example, in my country, hospitals are in great condition. The prices are not too high, they're affordable. So this is something that you hear like from your neighbors, your parents. So if you don't know about this issue, don't go too broad, because then you don't know what's the healthcare system in America or in Europe. So then you want to focus just on your experience and be positive. So it's better to say the health system is good than to say nothing works and we are so frustrated, because negative answers tend to be limiting. So you will not be able to expand on that and you will not be as convincing, because if you don't know about a certain issue, then it's better to be positive than critical, because to criticize something, that means that you know something very well. So don't go there. If this is not your area, be positive when answering. The great thing about IELTS is that you are not limited to a beep when answering. So on TOEFL, for example, you have only a certain amount of time, for example, a minute or 3 minutes to answer a question. And if you are in the middle of answering and you are expanding too much, just the bell will ring and you will the computer will stop recording. So if it's like a internet-based test. On IELTS, when you are face-to-face with your teacher, it's much more relaxing. So make sure to be confident and relaxed as much as you can. I know some students don't like examination and they don't like talking face-to-face with somebody. Then you have to also practice a little bit of the presentational skills and how to breathe, how to relax, how not to look so nervous. And a lot of that plays into the score that you will get in the end, how confident you are. Then there are questions that are related, for example, to traveling and experiences that have to do with going out of your comfort zone and doing something. So risk-taking, exploring the world, tourism, anything that has to do with moving and exploring and going out there. If you're not a type who does that, you can focus on where you like to go. If you like to go very near your hometown, then you can honestly say, I'm not a person who likes to travel a lot abroad. I have some favorite areas in my prefecture or in my region where I like to go, and many people in my country also share that opinion, and they go there as well, and we always have a great time when we go there for a summer break or something like that. So you can kind of shift the answer to your side. So if you are not a risk taker, then you can just say, I'm somebody who likes to be safe, and explain why. So it's very important to stand um, behind your answer. Because if the teacher asks you more questions, you need to elaborate why, and be ready to be asked why a lot. I always like to ask that to my students. So why do you think so? How do you feel about this? Why do you think this is a good idea? Because that provokes your thinking. Ask yourself, like, why don't I like to wake up in the morning, for example? This is a simple question about your routine. Oh, I'm a night person, and then I like to stay up very late, and I like to read books or study or play video games or whatever. So every question has questions that go after. So why? And you need to be ready to expand on that. For now, there has been this two group of questions, one related to just family and the position of a woman in the society, and then there was this question related to volunteering, non-governmental organization leadership. Yeah, and that would be all. So please, guys, stay safe, wear masks, wash your hands, all the jazz that we have to do while we're in this situation. So yeah, talk to you very soon. Bye bye.